All right, so today we're going to be looking again at the Penstar eNote and really how I've been using it these past 2 months and talking a lot about the software experience that I've had with this device, not so much about the physical design and the build quality. I covered that enough in my first impressions video, so if you're curious about that, I'd refer you back to that one. But today we're going to be focusing mostly on how the software actually works in this device, the pros and cons of that software, and even briefly mentioning the handwriting to text conversion and how to sideload on this device as well. So first, how have I really been using this device during these 2-month period? Well, with the pen-only input especially, this device to me is really a great notebook and journal, and that's really how I use it. For example, here's some notes I took while I was just recently at a study. So it can definitely handle lots of notes, full pages of them, no problem. I even changed templates in the middle there and it had no issue. And that's really like the best way I can use it. I typically use the regular pen at around the 5 line size. I sometimes do the 2, but it has a lot of pressure sensitivity. So it starts out really nice and thin, and then you can really add a lot of pressure and make it thicker. So when I'm using the 5, I can still write very thin lines and keep it almost as thin as that 2. But then whenever I want to do like a bolder title or something, then I press harder and it does really nice bolder text too. So it's a great way if you don't want to be switching your tool a lot, is to have it kind of in that middle range. Then I think you can get a very dynamic looking writing with it. And of course you have the eraser on the back here. I have it set to be a stroke eraser right now, just because it's not super precise with this very large flat side here. And I find that most of the time I just want to redo the whole stroke anyway. So this works out well for me. And if you got some ghosting happening here, hold down the back button and you get a nice screen refresh. So yeah, it's great at being a notebook, great at being a journal. I also do like using it for the split screen function because a surprising number of e-ink tablets don't have any kind of split screen functionality. I mean, it makes sense when you have something small like this Supernote A6X2 Nomad. I mean, you're not gonna really want to do too much of a split screen on this device. It's a very good single focus device. But with this, or even something Remarkable 2-sized or Remarkable Paper Pro size especially, those would greatly benefit from a split screen option. But neither the Remarkable 2 nor the Remarkable Paper Pro actually have split screen. So if we go to the book section and open my PDF file here, so not only does that work well, you also have separate controls for the PDF here. So I can have a whole different list of them, including zooming in and zooming out. And if you do punch in, you can use the stylus to change where you're at in the document. But if you open the RDS menu here, you can get split view. And as you can see, I've already done this before, so it pulled up the notes I had attached with this document. But if this is your first time opening that menu in a PDF file, it will attach a specific note to that. As far as I know, it's only 1 note per 1 PDF or whatever kind of file you have here, but it is still really nice that you can do that split view note taking and look at what you're reading here and actually take some notes. Pretty much with every one of these e-ink tablets, I find something that I wish all the others would adopt. And this is definitely the one for the Penstar. I think all other companies, some of them do have a version of this, but I think we need to see more companies implement a split view and split screen approach as an option on their e-ink tablets. Especially Remarkable with that Paper Pro with a nice big screen. It's like 2 Supernote Nomads next to each other. It would be perfect for split view. You also could access split view from the control center here. There's all these other options as well, but if you try to do that in just the Notes app, it won't support it. So you have to be in that PDF that you want to split view, and then it will work no problem. So those are the biggest ways that I've used this tablet, and everything else about this tablet is neat. It's got a lot of little software tricks that we're going to go over, but to be perfectly honest, I haven't really used them. That's what I've actually used on this tablet, in case you guys are wondering, and that's what I have the most experience with. We'll go over the other features, but I haven't personally integrated them into my workflow, and not something that I think are hugely deal breakers one way or the other. But they just might be for you. For example, the handwriting to text conversion might just be the deciding feature for you. So if we go to the more option right here, we have convert to text, and you can do the current page or all pages. You can't do like a selected chunk of text like Remarkable, but that's totally okay. A whole page at a time is fine. It takes a few seconds to recognize, and then once it does, you can save it as a text file or you can share it via email, and it nailed that, no problem. Perfect recreation, if I do say so myself. And I definitely didn't have the world's neatest handwriting while doing that either. And then you may want specific Android apps that this doesn't natively have. So you may want to sideload something. So you can find on any device that can reach the internet a way to download a .apk file and then upload it to this tablet via the Wi-Fi transfer, and then boom, you got your APK file and you can install it. Or if you don't want to leave the tablet, you can go to your apps here, which there's system apps, but if you go to installed apps, it actually has Chromium already installed for you. So you can open that up here and use Google to just find the app you want. And you can still use this handwriting to text keyboard, so you don't have to actually type it all out. You can just write it. So let's say I wanted the version Bible app .apk file, and we'll search that. And then I found this one right here for download the APK from up to down. And this is the version I ended up downloading. And what I did was it installed the App Store first, actually, and then I had to go in that and download the Bible app itself. But now I do have this fully functioning Android app on here. And yeah, again, you don't have finger input, so your stylus is your finger, so you kind of have to drag it almost like you would for a finger. So none of these apps are going to work that great. There's going to be a lot of refreshing, a lot of ghosting. It's not designed for this tablet, but especially something like a reading app, like the Bible app, like the Kindle app, things like that. This can totally be usable because once you get it to a nice spot, you can even refresh it again. And this looks great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So just know it's not going to be perfect, but it is definitely usable. However, when I went to sign in, this is saying that it won't run without the Google Play services, which I don't have on this device. So there may be some things that just won't work because it doesn't have the Google Play Store, but it looks like most apps will at least download. You just may have some problems with signing into your accounts and things like that. Also, if you're curious about what I did to install the app, I literally just got the APK file and tapped on it, and then it just says open with package installer, and then you can say always or just once. Plus, since I already have this app store installed, it will ask if you want to use that app store to open the APK file. So in theory, you only really need one app store on the device. Not like you just need to install a new app store every time you get one, which is nice. And then you just pick whichever one you're doing and it will ask to install. You just tap install, it will do install. And then obviously it failed this time because I already have it installed. But that is the only bit of process you need to do here. Although I did have some weird problems trying to get this Kindle APK file to install. I tried using both methods, both this installer and just the native package installer, and neither of them seem to work very well. So we'll give it one more try while it's filming here and see what happens. So here it's prompting to install, and I say install. And then it says conflict with it being already installed. So somehow, some way, I must have messed up the process or something happened along the way where it thinks it's installed here, but it's not showing up in the installed apps. And if I go to install APK, there's no files in the internal stores it's recognizing here. There's no apps installed it's recognizing here, and no packages. So not sure what happened there, and I just cannot get the Kindle app to install. Maybe it's something with the version of Android this is running. I'm not 100% sure. So all I would say to this is sideloading is possible, but if you're buying this because it's able to sideload or because of the Android apps you want to put on it, I would caution against that. I would say it's probably better for you to stick with something like the Books devices, which have the Google Play Store already on their tablets. Even though I'm not personally a huge fan of Books, but that's because I don't use my tablets like a regular iPad or Android tablet. But if you want to do that with these e-ink devices, Books is a great option for you. I think this is a great middle ground, but just don't get it for the sideloading. That's my only warning to everyone out there. But I don't want to say that as a downside to the software at all. I think overall it's really nice. I like that they have a true home screen with some widgets here that you can see some of your apps, the books in your bookshelf, and some of your last used notes and emails if you have those as well, and quick access to your calendar from here as well. So you can do all sorts of stuff like that. I don't really use my Penstar eNote for the calendar function much. And that's because, to be honest, I have my phone, my watch, my iPad. They're all telling me when events are and when I have to go to things. And I kind of like my e-ink tablets just be a little disconnected from some of that stuff. Same reason I don't have the email signed up. Not that I can't do it or it didn't work, just because I didn't want it signed in. But you have those options here if you want to use them. And I really appreciate the customization and options they give you. You can swap out this wallpaper for a couple different options. Like, look, I can get this nice whale here. Oh yeah, let's do it. And you can do anything custom here as well. As you saw, the Graf-X tech was an option. Just note that anything that goes to the full area kind of blocks this text right here, which is why I'm not using my Graf-X tech logo in place of this. I actually found it looked a little bit worse in my opinion. So all of their options that they give you look great here, and you can obviously still make your own custom ones and just optimize it for this size. So with the home screen and the slight customization here, the ability to customize your screensavers as well, this to me has about the perfect amount of customization I would want on an e-ink device like this. And then the couple annoyances and frustrations I've had with this device, they're not anything big, but they're there. For example, I'm still not a big fan of their lasso tool. All you can really do is cut, copy, and bold and drag it around, but there's no resizing, no rotating, no move option, and it's just not the greatest. And there's a few times that I have wanted to rotate something or resize something and I wasn't able to do it. This isn't a deal breaker for me, but it's there and I still notice it. Also, it has a table of contents kind of like Supernote, but not quite as powerful. And you add like the page to it and then you have to make a new title, where Supernote you can just lasso whatever text you want and make that a heading, and then that just adds it to your table of contents. And I think that's a more effective way of doing it. And again, it's kind of tied to that lasso tool. I wish they just packed in a little bit more functionality right there. It would just make things flow even better. But that is also a software issue that they can work on over time, and I hope they do. Another thing that's just kind of annoying about this device, and it also could be a good thing, is the pen-only input. It is a little annoying at times when I can't use my finger to do anything, but it's really not that big of a deal for general navigation. I typically use my pens to navigate around on all my e-ink devices, so it feels pretty natural and I'm not too bothered by it, but it's only compatible with their pen. I think this is something that they should have stuck to the Wacom standard and just used that as the underlying screen technology for their pens. They use basically the same tips as the Wacom styluses use, so I don't really get why they decided that they needed their own proprietary technology. It makes it even harder if you were to, say, lose your pen. Well, now you have to get their specific pen again, and sometimes they're out of stock of them, so it's a little challenging to do that. Where if it was the Wacom standard, you could go to Amazon, buy a cheap one, and at least still use your tablet in the meantime. And that just makes a lot more sense. So I don't actually mind the pen-only input. I think it was an interesting decision. It definitely makes their screen really nice and pure white, and it makes you want to use this for just journaling and writing, and that's great. And I kind of wish they had a trigger that you could do on the buttons that puts it into lost pen mode or something where it turns them all into navigation buttons. You can set that up, but then that's always going to be your setup for them. And I don't like that either. I think they should have a emergency mode where you can hold down 4 buttons or hold down 2 buttons or something like that, and it triggers the emergency mode. And now everything is navigation buttons, so you can at least get some files off of it or do something with it when you've lost your pen. And mentioning the buttons, I really like these buttons actually. I think they're a great way to use and interact with the device without having a touchscreen. And I love how many there are. I love that they have a button to refresh the screen and just a nice back button. I have it set to where the top one here adds a page for me. So I just did that right there. The one right below it is going to the next page. So I know these kind of top ones are always advancing pages. And then the third one here, I have going back pages. And the fourth one I have is my settings. This is actually only because sometimes I forget what they are. So I like to have the settings button here as well, so I can quickly reference what they all are. Then I have a lasso tool, so I can switch to it easily and switch back from it. And an undo and a redo. And then full screen toggle. So it just gets rid of this top bar if I don't want to see that. So love the buttons. They're just a lot of buttons and sometimes I forget what they are. And they can change depending on which app you're in, which is actually good, but it's just also a lot to wrap your mind around what they're all gonna do every single time. So all I say to everyone is just make sure you do something that logically makes sense to your own brain. That's the only way you're gonna remember it, and maybe have the settings button always on there so you can reference them quick. And that's the best way I've found to use it. Even with 2 months with this device, I don't use it every day because I'm testing multiple devices. So every time I go back to it, it sometimes throws me off, or I have to take some time to kind of remember what all the buttons are. So they're great, they're customizable, but make them logical for yourself. Definitely take advantage of the ability to swap out controls, which I showed in my first impressions video. So yeah, as long as you don't lose this pen, this is a great device. Does everything you need it to do for a notebook and journal replacement. Because it's got a little bit more of that actual Android tablet feel like Books does, but still limited in some ways, like not having the Google Play Store, and a little bit more focused and things like that, like Supernote. Personally, I still think Supernote has the best balance of software out of any company. They're not actually my favorite in hardware. Remarkable takes that for me. But in software, they are my favorite. And still to this day, I like the Penstar. I like Supernote software just a little bit more. But I still prefer Penstar's approach versus Books. They're just not my thing. I don't like using my e-ink tablets as an actual Android tablet. It just doesn't actually work for me. I have an iPad for tablet things. I don't need my e-ink device to try to access the internet much and download real apps and things like that. Although I do like that Supernote has their own app store installed with a couple apps already there, like the Kindle app and their Atelier app. And I think that is clever because Kindle is one of those things that a lot of people are probably gonna want on these devices. And I had a problem getting it installed on this one. So having the Kindle app already there is something I really appreciate, and I think that Penstar should consider doing that themselves. So that's been my review of using this device and experiencing its software for about 2 months now. And there is a lot to love. I think there's still some things to improve on, but the value and price of this device at around $350 for the tablet, the pen, and the folio cover, all included, great packaging, and a really well-rounded device for, as far as I know, really their first entry into the e-ink race. It's been really fun to use. I really enjoyed testing this device out and seeing all of its tricks that it had. I still think anyone getting this device is gonna be happy with their purchase, especially if you're not getting it with the intention of sideloading a whole bunch of apps onto it, but maybe just a couple and hopefully they work for you, then I'm sure you'll be happy with this device. And with this ginormous battery, it'll last you a long time and stay good for years. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If there's anything else you want to see tested on this Penstar device, let me know that. It's not going anywhere. I'm not getting rid of this device, so I'm willing to answer any questions you have on it and still make future videos on this device. In fact, the next one you'll see this device in is a comparison between it and the Remarkable 2, as both those products are sized about the same, and I think they each have their own ways of trying to be distraction-free and easy to use. So we're gonna see which one actually does a better job. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share this video. Subscribe. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers for the end of the year, and the end of the year is approaching so fast. It's almost Thanksgiving time already, which is just crazy. This year is flying by. And even just watching this video, you help this channel out, so I thank you so much for that. And if any of you have any critiques or criticisms for this channel out there, please let me know. I do want to keep improving things and growing as a channel and getting even better. So hopefully you'll not only be able to give me some criticisms, but you'll see me actually improve on them and the channel overall get better as you keep watching. I know that I have things to improve on, and I want to keep doing that with your guys' help. If you're curious about any of the equipment using my setup here, it's all going to be linked in the description down below. And as always, have a great rest of your day.